Okay, so let's go over some questions on your math test review. So if you have your math test review printed out, you can follow along with me that way. If you don't, you can just, I'll write down the questions when I work them out on my whiteboard. So you can always just work them out on a piece of paper or a whiteboard if you have one, and then we can compare answers. So how this is gonna go, I'm gonna skip around this review and cover different types of questions that you're gonna see on it. So we're not gonna do every single question together. Your parents have an answer key so they can look over your work. So you'll need to practice some independently. But I'm just gonna skip around and choose different questions. I'll talk through how to do them first, and then we'll do some together and you can check to make sure you understand. So let's just get started. Let's jump into it. First one we're gonna do is just simple multiplication. This is 2-digit multiplication. So we have 16 times 18. 16 times 18. And in fact, since we're just doing multiplication, I'm not gonna explain it. Let's just have, so you should do this on your piece of paper and I'll do it over here. 16 times 18, and then we'll compare our answers. So go ahead and work it out over there. Pause me if you need to, and then we'll compare in a second. All right, I'm gonna go over the answer, so pause if you still need to keep working. Okay, here we have 16 times 18. The first things we do is we multiply by our ones place, our 8. So we do 6 times 8 is 48, carry my 4. 1 times 8 is 8, plus my 4 is 12. Then when I come down, this is really, since this 1 right here is in the tens place, it's really like you're multiplying by 10. So that's why we put a 0 immediately. So this is why we put a 0 right under our 8, very first thing. Now we focus only on this 1. 6 times 1 is 6, 1 times 1 is 1. 8 plus 0 is 8, 2 plus 6 is 8, 1 plus 1 is 2. Right, so there's some other types of those questions on your review multiplication that you can do and have a parent check over. Sorry, I needed something to erase my whiteboard. All right, now let's do division. The first one we're gonna do is 124 divided by 8. 124 divided by 8. You do this on a piece of paper on a whiteboard, and then we'll compare answers. All right, pause me if you need to. Let's talk through it. So here, we had to ask how many times does 8 go into 12? Goes in once. 1 times 8 is 8. 12 minus 8 is 4. Bring down the 4 in our ones place. How many times does 8 go into 44? 5. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract, and we have 4 left over. I just did 15 remainder 4, which is perfectly fine for a problem like this. Remember, if we wanted to make it a fraction, it'd be 15 and 4 over 8, which would reduce or simplify to half. So you could also write 15 and a half. And then you could also have done where you added a decimal and a 0, but you didn't have to. If you had added a decimal and a 0 and then brought your 0 down, you would have obviously had 8 would have gone into 48 exactly 5 times, so your answer would have been 15.5. But any of those are correct. Okay, let's move on to reviewing some fractions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna add some fractions. So let's do 1/2 plus 5/18. 1/2 plus 5/18. And remember, when we see a problem, a fraction problem, especially addition or subtraction, and our denominators are different, we have to get them to the same denominator, and we do that by multiplying. We could also do it by division, but let's do it by multiplying. So here, I'm going to take the smaller denominator of the two, 1/2, and I'm going to multiply both the denominator and the numerator by the same number. I have to ask myself, what do I multiply 2 by to get 18? Because that's what I want to multiply all of it by. Well, 2 times 9 equals 18. So here's my new fraction. 2 times 9 equals 18. Whatever I do to the bottom, here I multiply by 9. I have to do the top. 1 times 9 is 9. So now I have 9/18 plus 5/18, which will give me nope, that's not true, 14/18. And then I need to simplify that. We can divide both the top and the bottom by 2. So let's do that. And we get 7/9. All right. So first thing, I had to change my denominator by multiplying it by a number that would get me to have the same denominator. So this new fraction that we came up with, it's called an equivalent fraction. Remember? I'm not sure we actually ever really defined that. It's an equivalent fraction. This is the same amount, it's just expressed differently with a different denominator. So let's do another one together. Let's do a subtraction one together just for fun. So if you're looking at your review, this would be 3C. And this is 5/6 minus 1/3. So you do this there on your end, I'll do it over here, and then we'll compare our answers. Okay. Here, first thing I did was I changed my 1/3 to have a denominator of 6. I did that by multiplying it by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. Or excuse me, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. Now I had 5/6 minus 2/6, which equals 3/6. I can simplify that to a half. All right, now let's look at, if you're looking at your review, let's look at E. If not, we'll talk through it here in a second. Okay, so this is 2 minus 3/4. It's been a long time since we've reviewed something like this. Here what we need to do is split up our 2 into 1. So we need 1 over by itself. And then what else? So 1 plus 1 equals 2. If this had been let's just play around. If this had been a 4 and we were subtracting 3/4, we still need to separate out a 1, and that just leaves 3 over here. So basically, if you see a whole number subtracted by a fraction, you need to just get one part of your whole number by itself. So you're always going to split it by 1 and whatever else you add to 1 to get your whole number. Hopefully that makes sense. You want 1 on your own, and I'll show you why. So here we have 2, and we split it up to 1 and 1. We're going to change one of our 1s to be 4/4, to have the same denominator as what we're subtracting. So we're going to change this one to 4/4, which is equal to 1. We still have the same amount, but now we have the same denominator, so we can subtract. So what is 4/4 minus 3/4? 1/4. And we have 1 left over, so our answer will be 1 and 1/4. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's do another one that's not on your review, just because that can be kind of confusing. All right, let's do 5 minus 2/6. Well, that's not in simplest form, so let's do 5 minus 7/8. 5 minus 7/8. So just do this wherever you have space. If you have your review out, maybe on the side or on a back page. And let's do this. I'll do it here, you do it there, and then we'll compare. All right, so here I split my 5 into 1, which I changed to 8/8, and 4, because 1 plus 4 equals 5. Then I subtracted 7/8 from my 8/8, which gave me 1/8, and I still had this 4 left over, so my answer is 4 and 1/8. All right, let's move along. So if you have your review, this is number 4, changing improper fractions to mixed numbers. So let's do A together. Your fraction is 24/8, 24/8. Remember, if we're changing an improper fraction means our numerator is larger than our denominator, we're going to need to divide. So our numerator is what we're dividing, and our denominator is what we're dividing it by. So this one's fairly easy, right? What's 24 divided by 8? 3. And it goes in evenly. So 3 is our answer. That one's pretty simple. It came out to be a whole number. But let's try one that doesn't come out to be a whole number. Let's do B together. And go ahead, I want you to try to jog your memory before I tell you how to do this. But you have 45/7. You work that on your side, I'll work it over here. We'll see what you get. 45/7. And we want it to be a mixed number. Okay, pause me if you need to. I'm running out of time, so I've got to flip it a little faster. Okay, I have 45/7. That means I'm going to do 45 divided by 7 to find my mixed number. 7 goes into 45 6 times. 7 times 6 is only 42, so we have 3 left over. That becomes our numerator, and 7 is our denominator. So your answer is 6 3/7.